Welcome in to the Super Awesome Podcast. Today we are doing a super awesome short over Pokemon Red, Yellow, Blue, and Green. Uh, joined here today by Danders, aka Dog Slice, aka
What
Dog Christ. Uh,
podcast god?
we're absent captain today, but that's all right. Uh, our Danders, go ahead with the facts, please.
Did you say what we were covering?
Yes.
No, my bad. All right. So, originally called Pocket Monsters, released in Japan on February 27th, 1996. Pokemon Red and Blue version released in North America September 28th, 1998. Pokemon Yellow followed October 19th, or 1999. Sorry. Developed by Game Freak, published by Nintendo. And that's it. That's all I got.
uh, so what Pokemon? First off, okay, so the game starts out. You are playing a pretty much Ash, but you get to name your character. I always used my own name for my character, and also you get to choose a name for your rival, aka Gary. But I always chose to name him Asshole because that's what my little kid mind was doing. So, Danders, what did you name yourself?
So I don't really remember what I named either of them when I was a kid. I probably just did Ash and Gary or whatever because of the show. Um, but I think when I played it back as an adult, I think I just named my dude Guy, and then I want to say I named my rival Dude or Man or something like that, so they could have some like stupid exchanges, like "I'm gonna kick your ass, Guy." Not today, man. So it's dumb.
Yeah, it was never not asshole for me. But okay, so what Pokemon? So obviously, you get to choose between Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle. Which Pokemon did you typically lean to start out your game?
So I had red version, my brother had blue version. So he always chose Squirtle. I always chose Charmander. And like anything, your older brother kicks your ass at everything. So naturally he would stomp my ass with that. But I always rolled with Charmander. And actually, fun fact, I got these little plushies behind me. So that little Bosif, when he learned how to crawl, we had him choose a Pokemon. It's like a thing that we've seen on the internet. So we had him do it. And he also chose Charmander. So fire, passion. There you go.
I think I saw that one of you posted that video. I think I
It
saw
was not
that.
me.
Okay. So it was her, and then I saw. Huh. Interesting. I always chose. I hate to say it because it feels like everybody always chose Charmander, but I always chose Charmander. Of course, I played this game numerous times over, but I would switch it up sometimes. But it was mostly Charmander, but then it was always Squirtle, and then hardly never did Bulbasaur. Maybe once did I get all the way through to Venusaur and all that, but
I played as Bulbasaur one time. I got him to Ivysaur, but he's actually he's the best starter just based on the gym leaders and the order in which you kind of go through it. He's actually like the easiest to use.
yeah, he probably flies through Brock and Misty.
Yeah, it's like nothing.
Those grass types, getting them rock types and them water types. But yeah. But if you did choose Charmander, which most people did, it was hard to get past Brock. But what kind of strategy did you have to get past Brock using Charmander? What Pokemon did you catch in the Viridian Forest or in the outside areas?
Um, so okay, so I think like for Brock, you don't really have a ton of options really. So I think I just trained religiously. I think I just spent so much time grinding Charmander to where he was just way stronger than Brock. I don't think I really because I didn't. I would always catch a Pidgey. I feel like that's like a staple. You got to get a Pidgey. Uh, but that's not very good against Rock either. So like I pretty much had to solely rely on Charmander and just level him up insanely. And then Then to get past Misty, I think I would always catch an Oddish.
Hmm.
And then after that, it's smooth sailing. But like getting out of the gate with Charmanders was always really challenging.
Yeah, it was always a little bit of a grind. I would so speaking on Pidgey, I'd always catch a Pidgey, and also it doesn't take long to level it up to a Pidgeotto. So I would always grind in the Viridian Forest, and I would do that. But just to speak on something we may talk on later, but I would always have a Pidgeot in my final six. I don't know what my like Pidgey's as vanilla as it comes, but for some reason Pidgeot was a badass to me as a little kid, so I always had him in my final six.
Yeah, I
But
mean, there's a lot of like shitty bird designs throughout Pokemon. Like, it's like a type you really can't make look cool. But like Pidgey and, or I should say, I always like Pidgeotto, and then yeah, Pidgeot was always like a sleek design. Even though really all it
yeah,
is just like it's like a bird with like a mullet or something. But yeah, that one was always cool. But
it some of those retro pictures they have on the Pokemon or on the Game Boy for the Pokemon are so cool. Like the Pidgeot one is really cool. Like I you said sleek, and that really described how it looked to me. Like it has that sleek mullet thing in the back.
hmm yeah.
But yeah,
Did you ever have the like the Pokemon guide, like the actual book?
I'm pretty sure I had it, but I never looked at it.
I used to just
Actually, no, that's probably not true, because this is pre like internet era
yeah,
for
yeah.
us. So I knew something. There's no way I wouldn't have known it if I didn't have one, unless somebody told me. But you know,
Yeah, I used to kind of like what you're saying, like retro pictures or whatever. I used to just I like was obsessed with catching them all. Uh but the actually like Pokemon Red and Blue. I don't know about Yellow. I don't know what type. I'm sure that they have some restrictions as well, but there's actually uh Pokemon Red and Blue have like certain Pokemon you cannot catch in the game and you have to trade. Um which is something my brother would exploit me for to it's on his quest to catch them all. But yeah, it actually forced you to interact with people. Wild. But
with the trade cable.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
But well, until until you buy your own copy of the other one and just trade yourself. Easy.
Let's talk about that real quick. Felt Feels like a scam later on in life. Like you had red, blue, and yellow for us in America. And like they're essentially the same game. Yellow's maybe a mixture of the red and blue, but better off more uh, you know, with the show itself.
hmm
But if your parents are buying this, like knowing what we know now, they'd be like, "No, I ain't buying you two more copies of the same game."
hmm
I mean, there are differences. Like there's certain Pokemon you can't get in red and blue and etc. But you know, aside from that, it's essentially the same story. Except for in yellow, you get to have Pikachu follow you around, and that's pretty cool. And you can also get the starters, all
Well,
three of them.
I think Pokemon Yellow actually follows the show more, whereas I
Right.
think the show's based on the first two. But did you speaking of catch 'em all, did you ever catch them all?
No, I did not ever try to catch them all because I didn't have anybody to really trade with. And then, you're not just going to, maybe in school, but that never seemed to be a thing in my school. Like I
hmm
didn't see people with trade cables trading Pokemon. Plus, you weren't probably allowed to have your Game Boy at school. So, aside from that, no, I didn't really have a chance to trade with anybody. There was a one random occurrence when I was staying in a hotel. Uh, we were driving from Oklahoma to Ohio, and some kid just happened to be downstairs playing his Game Boy in like the lounge area or something. And I happened to have my Game Boy, and we made a trade. Can't remember what the trade was. I think it involved a Jinx. Uh,
But
well, I think Jinx is one of the Pokemon that
yeah,
you
I
have
think
to
so.
trade to get something else. But yeah, that's the only time that the trade cable was ever useful for me.
Um, I just checked my red version, and it's actually my original copy as well. I have 101 of 151, so not really close. I have a lot of like the pre stages. I just haven't trained them or evolved them or anything. Speaking of 151, did you ever catch Mew?
Okay, so there's a lot of myths involving Mew and how to catch Mew. And so I can only think of two examples of like rumors that I heard as a kid growing up. One of them being that truck by the SS Anne. When you learn surf, you can surf past the
Yep,
SS Anne
I
and go
remember
to
that.
that truck.
Hmm.
And apparently there's a Mew there if you click on it or whatever you have to do, but it never worked for me. And the second rumor was all the trash cans in the kitchen of the SS Anne, where if you clicked on them in a certain way, then Mew would pop up or something, but it never worked for me. Did you
I
hear any
also I
rumors?
also remember that, and that's such a funny time. Like
Yeah.
before the internet like was just easily accessible all the time. It was literally just going off of like, oh yeah, this dude told me this, and it would just spread like just
Yep.
fucking everywhere. so, so I did that, but I never caught it as a kid. But we live in a world of YouTube, and I watched how you can because a lot of it was like you got to have a Game Shark, and I did not have one. So I had to watch a YouTube video later in my early 20s, and when I was playing it again, and I have a couple of Mews at this point. I've gone through the cycle of how to glitch it. So yeah, I have one now. I don't use him because he's broken, but
I can't remember the glitch you need to do for it. There's several steps involved though.
oh yeah, it takes a minute, and you gotta fight a trainer that has like a slow poke or something, and
You have to
somehow that
mash
like
like the
triggers
start
the
button.
yeah, and you got to hit it like right away, right when some dude
Yeah.
comes into frame, and yeah, it's like a whole thing. And but yeah, I have a few of them
Hmm.
throughout my copies of the game. But
So what so aside from the original starters, because I feel like everybody's gonna say Charizard's their favorite or Blastoise or whatever. Aside from the original starters, who is your favorite Pokemon? Or maybe a couple favorite of your Pokemon.
so okay, so as a kid, outside of Charizard, my favorite Pokemon was Gengar,
Okay.
and I actually had the little Burger King toy that was released. I looked it up. You had the little button where his eyes would light up red. That came out in
I do not remember
1999.
that.
Yeah, it came out in 1999. And I remember being so stoked when I got that toy at Burger King. So it's like one of like a weird memory that I still have. But yeah, so Gengar was always a favorite of mine, but he has now been replaced by Clefable. Clefable's a fucking badass. Just saying.
I actually forgot that that was your favorite.
Yeah,
You actually bought a Clefable card off of me
I sure did.
a couple years ago.
And a couple Clefairies.
Um, so my favorite Pokemon of all time is Ninetales. Just really loved having Ninetales. I thought he was had a really cool design. And but to pair along with that, I'd say Arcanine and Rapidash are very close to number one, but I have to give it to Ninetales.
So I that leads me into a question. Have you ever played any of the like like a challenge? Have you ever tried to like challenge yourself with like internet challenges out there to like make the game a little more interesting?
No, I have not. I have never done anything like that. And I'll be honest with you, I played the game super simple. I just like I barely ever use like, the X attack or X defend, those special
Mm-hmm.
stat booster things. I hardly ever used any of that stuff.
Just played it straight
Just
grind,
played it
just go
straight
right through.
grind. Yep.
Well, all your favorite Pokemon are all fire type, it seems like. So, one of the challenges I have like started a game with the challenge, but I don't know as an adult, it's just hard to find time to play. But one of them is like the gym leader mode where you pick one type and you just play the whole game as that, which I always thought was like kind of a cool concept. So you could do that with fire type. That'd be fun.
Like you play as the gym leader. Like you
No,
have a
no, no, no. You
gym.
don't play as it. Like, I mean, there is like
I know you mentioned something like
fan
that
made
to me.
games where you
Yeah.
can be the gym leader.
Hmm.
I have not played that. I want to. The only fan made title that I've actually played is the fusion Pokemon, and I could send you a picture of my Raichu Blastoise combo. It's pretty cool looking.
Yeah,
They had like
there's some
custom
pretty cool
sprites.
pictures. Yeah.
Um, so that's cool. But as far as like the gym leader mode, I think you could easily roll like a all fire where you are playing the game and only allowed to use one type.
Oh
I think
man,
I think that'd be kind of cool.
if I was all fire, I'd have Charizard, Ninetales, Arcanine, Rapidash. I'd probably have a Moltres in there. I'd be all OP with fire.
Hmm.
Just hope nobody has a water type.
But would you use Flareon?
Oh yeah, I wanted to mention which evolution did you normally go towards? I mean, so for me, it always depended on what I needed and what I didn't have in my six. But what was your favorite overall?
Vaporeon. I mean, a lot of times it's the same kind of deal. I use Charmander a lot, so I needed a water type. And if I didn't have Poliwrath, which was another favorite of mine, I would use
Mm,
Vaporeon.
okay,
And Vaporeon's got good defensive stats.
okay. Um, I feel like I used Vaporeon when I needed to surf and I didn't have a water type, but I think I leaned towards Jolteon more often than not.
I respect it.
Uh, I really don't ever remember a time where I would use Flareon.
Oh, yeah, Flareon's probably the worst design, but I think Jolteon actually has um, like a speed advantage. So I think I'd have to get fact checked on this, but I think he attacks first no matter what. Like his speed is elite. So I think like if
Hmm.
you send him out there, he's faster than everybody in the game. I think someone will probably fact check me on that and absolutely destroy me, but that's like some vague memory of mine.
Speaking of just a quick fact that I found that just blew my mind when I came across it. Okay, so so you have HMs. I can't. What does HM stand for? Do you remember?
No.
Okay, so the HMs, the move types in Pokemon games are the things that you need to progress the game, like strength, fly, swim, or I think
Mhm.
it's called surf. Stuff like that. Flash for the cave, so you can
Yeah,
see.
I remember what they are. I just don't remember what it stands for.
So with cut, you need to cut down those special trees.
Mhm.
But did you know that you can cut the tall grass?
I did not know that.
I always thought that was crazy. Like, so you're using repel to avoid fights. If you, like, I never avoided fights. I always just fought a Pokemon if it came my way anyway, just to boost my stats. But in order to not use repel, you can just simply cut down the tall grass and it'll stay cut.
Hmm.
And I was that's pretty crazy to me. Mhm.
I kind of want to go try that now.
Yeah, me
I
too.
just put batteries in my Game Boy Color, so maybe I'll give her a go. Um, what were uh, what were some of your favorite attacks?
Some of my favorite attacks. I think my all-time favorite attack is Hyper Beam
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
or
Mm,
Aurora Beam.
okay.
Do you remember that one? I feel like not a lot of people remember that because it's Ice Beam, Hyper Beam, Aurora Beam, and they're all the same. I think they have different sound effects,
Hmm.
but Hyper Beam was my favorite. And then just want to give a quick shout out to Quick Attack. Always appreciate a good quick attack to finish off an opponent real quick
Yeah.
and not use one of your great moves because all your moves you can only use a limited amount of them before you heal.
So the moves that I would use. So again, Gengar was like my favorite Pokemon. So Hypnosis, it's kind of a two. So Hypnosis, Dream Eater. It's a combo, and it's broken. It felt cheap all the time. Uh,
Hmm.
Honestly, not how I would play today, but whatever. It's effective. And then my honorable mention is Ice Beam. I
Yeah.
always appreciated that. I
Always,
use
I like Thunder a lot as well.
Thunder was
I feel
cool.
like
I
I.
thought about using Fire Blast, putting that on there, but
What about Fire Punch?
no.
They had a cool animation.
I'd always slap Ice Beam on like Articuno.
Oh yeah, you had to have it on Articuno.
Uh, uh,
I was gonna ask you. So you remember in the cave where you get to choose a fossil
mhm.
to resurrect? Which fossil did you normally pick? I
There's
believe
a
it was there two or three of them.
there's two, I believe.
Was it Omnanite and Kabutops, or was it Aerodactyl? Was Aerodactyl? I
Ooh.
think you can get an Aerodactyl later on in the game.
Yeah, I don't remember actually, but I choose the
Kabutop, the
it's like
fossilized
it's like
Scyther.
the Felix and the Helix. As far as like the fossil, what they were called, I can't remember.
Oh yeah, I can't remember the name of them either.
But yeah, the one with the I never
With
used them. I never
it's,
used them, but
I never used it either. Like they pretty much look like a fossilized Scyther in
yeah,
a way,
outside
kind
of
of.
like the Pokemon Stadium cut game. I never
No.
really messed with them.
What legendary did you normally have? So, I mean, you could have all three legendaries in your starting six. I never did because I feel like it was cheap, so I always just chose one
I did the
because
same.
I was already super attached to my other Pokemon that I had. So, but which one did you normally would use
Uh,
more?
so normally, I mean, Articuno was my favorite, so I would throw Articuno in there. But if I needed, depending on how my team looked, if I needed Zapdos, I would use them.
Okay. Yeah, Articuno, like we're gonna touch on this in probably a minute or two, but Articuno would always be in my final six.
Well, let's just get into it now. Who was your final six?
So I did a lot of thinking on this, and I made a list of my favorite Pokemon, and then I just picked from there to what I remember the most. So typically it was Charizard, Pidgeot, Arcanine, Alakazam, Gyarados, and Articuno.
I forgot about Gyarados. So I was just trying to remember as a kid, like the Pokemon that I would use a lot. Completely different to how I play now. Um, but so as a kid, I think I had some combination of Charizard as a starter. I had Gengar. I always really liked Machamp. I think you had to trade to get him, so I'd like trade with my brother and then trade him back so that I could get Machamp. Always really liked Lapras, so she would be in my party. And then I put Zapdos in here just as part of like the I needed an electric type, and then Alakazam was usually the lineup. But playing it as an adult and learning how broken Clefable is, I she can actually learn. So before she's like used as like a fairy type in later versions, she's pretty broken. So I took pictures of like her what I have her with. So Clefable had my current one has Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, Psychic, and Sing.
Oh,
She
okay.
can also learn like Fire Blast though. I just didn't give it to her because I think putting people to sleep is relevant. And so I pretty much rocked like the way I play now is I don't like having a full six because really up until like the last two fights, you're never facing anybody that has six Pokemon. So I didn't want to have more Pokemon than the people I was going up against. And then I kind of was trying to put myself in the world, and I'm like, I think I would have Clefable and Gengar, and that would just be the two that I rock. And then I have like a couple other ones that I use for progressing in the story, like Cut, Surf, what have you.
Yeah.
But I pretty much just rock the two.
I it's an interesting strategy to not to not have all six when you could have all six. I never played it like that. I just never thought about like evening the odds, I guess. I just wanted to get my Pokemon as strong as I possibly could and have all six of my I wanted the perfect lineup.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I wanted to give a special shout out to some other Pokemon that I would sometimes mix in to my six. Like I would mix in I had a special love for Tauros because I really
Okay.
loved the episode for some reason. So I always
Okay.
really appreciated Tauros. And I wanted to give a shout out to Vileplume because I used
Yeah.
Vileplume a lot.
Vileplume was elite. I guess my only shout out would be to Poliwrath. Really like using Poliwrath. He was my favorite Pokemon for a while. Uh, kind of like in between my Gengar and Clefable. There was a period of time where I was really into Poliwrath. So, but I never had him in my final lineup usually.
Yeah, Poliwrath is a badass for sure. But I wanted to ask before I forgot, Hitmonlee or Hitmonchan? Because you can only pick one of them.
I think Hitmonchan's better, but I always picked Hitmonlee.
Which one was the one that did the kicks?
Hitmonlee.
Okay, then I chose Hitmonlee because I was more about the kicks than the
Mm-hmm.
punch.
I liked his design more than I liked Hitmonchan's design.
I don't
Um,
ever think I went over the plot of this game. Not that
um,
it's relevant now, but I think I just named my characters. So
um,
you get the 8 badges, you fight the final four, you beat him, you fight your rival because he's the champ. You beat him, you become the Pokemon World Champion. Which brings me to the point where that's the only time after you do all of that is the only time that you have a chance to catch Mewtwo, which is located in Misty's town in that cave, pretty deep in that cave. And did you ever catch Mewtwo or did you ever go after Mewtwo? Did you even know you could get Mewtwo after catching or after beating the game?
Yeah, so I had the guide, so I knew like where he was.
Oh, that's right.
But
Okay.
I also had my older brother who the way he did it was really chaotic because he didn't save before. Uh, so I was like on pins and needles, like like watching him try to catch Mewtwo. He finally did it, and I think he had Mewtwo at like 1 HP for way too long, and he just wouldn't. He didn't. He also didn't know that a Master Ball catches no matter what. So he got him down to like one. Kept trying to use Pokeballs, and then he finally was like, "I guess I'm gonna have to use this Master Ball," and threw it at him. Caught him first try. Found out years later, you don't have to do anything. If you throw a Master Ball, you're catching it. That's why you only get
Yeah, I
one.
think you only get one of those in the
Yeah.
game.
Mm-hmm. Unless you
And
use your rare candies, I think, or not rare
oh
candies.
yeah,
No, the glitch,
the
you know the glitch
the
where it
rare
lets
candy
you,
glitch.
where you can multiply any item.
Oh yeah, for sure did that one
Yeah,
with rare candies,
yeah,
which felt cheap. So I think I deleted my game shortly thereafter and just started over.
same, same. Um,
But
well, oh,
real quick, I wanted to ask you what this game meant to you growing up before we wrap up.
um, this game was like the essential travel game, and I took it on every vacation. Even to this day, I take it on vacation. Instead of playing a stupid phone game, I'll bring my Game Boy Color. And I've taken it on planes and whatever. Like it is like the and it's also like in a fantastic time waster. If you're just trying to kill time, you can grind in that game, and like I've got like 45 hours plus like on this file alone, let alone the other copies, and other generations like Crystal. Um, so yeah, it's just it holds a special place in my heart because it's also like a good bonding thing with my brother and other friends that had it. So it's cool.
I So like you, I also took my Game Boy everywhere when we were going on vacation. Long from Oklahoma to Ohio and back numerous times when I was a kid. Plenty of hours to play the game. Had the whole setup, the light on the Game Boy, the magnifying glass thing on the Game Boy, everything. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah, I had the light and everything. Yeah,
I don't know what came first, the Game Boy games, the collecting of the cards, or the TV shows. But I mean, I was very into all three of them growing
same.
up, and just I mean, this is really like the first game that I got addicted to as a kid and would play over and over and over again. And just different combinations of Pokemon that you could have and all the attacks and it just yeah, game was a big part of my childhood as it was everybody our age. So
Well, let me end this with a question to not just you, but also to the audience. Would love to see it in comments or whatever. So of the Gen 1 Pokemon, if you were in that world and Professor Oak had a Pokemon for you to start your journey, it has to be like the first evolution of a Pokemon. What would you choose? Doesn't have to be like the original starting three, like just any Gen 1 Pokemon.
I'm going with Vulpix
That's a
because I
solid
want a
choice.
Ninetales.
I like it. I personally would go with Clefairy just because Clefable's a badass. And it's
Vulpix,
kind of a troll to like beat somebody with a Clefairy. I feel like
but also Brock made Vulpix lovable in the show too. So I was always
no,
into
I am a big
Vulpix.
fan of Vulpix.
But that leads us to our super awesome ratings of the Pokemon Retro Red, Yellow, Blue games. What would you rate this game?
I give it
That's
like
as a whole.
I give it like a 9.9. It's huge. This is like a building block of who I am as a person. Like honestly, like this and Dragon Ball Z were like my entire childhood. So yeah, it was like I'll give it a 9.9. I like Gen 1 equal or maybe even more than Gen 2.
Fair. Very appropriate rating. I think I'm with you 100%. Big part of who I am, Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon. I mean, I prefer Dragon Ball Z, but Pokemon right up there. I give it a super awesome
Yeah.
9.91 just to be a little bit better than your rating out
That's
of
kind
10.
of bullshit.
But that does it here for the super awesome podcast, short edition. And
Super
you
awesome
all have
shorts
a
trademark.
oh yeah, and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and potentially TikTok if it's still around at Super Awesome Pod or Super Awesome Podcast. And you have a very nice day.
Bye.